Hello, welcome to HR Garage. I am Henry, and this is my V6 powered MGB. Now the V6 engine is from a Jaguar S-Type. It's a 3-litre engine, and I got it so close to finished, but we had an issue. I put a hole in my very expensive radiator. I know it's been a while since the last episode, and that's because I've been saving up for a new one and doing some other bits on other cars. So sit back, relax, and watch me get this MGB finally on the road for good. So the first job is to fit this radiator. It's not quite the same as the last one, which is a bit of an issue. So I'm going to have to do some modifications. First of all, for those that are new here, I'll show you the engine. So I made exhaust for it, go through the inner wheel arches. We've got custom Triumph motorbike throttle bodies with trumpets on. I made all these. We've got all the sensors and all the wiring. I've done everything on this car. The alternator, which is the source of all my issues, mounted backwards there on the front of the engine with all the wiring and everything now tidied up. So yeah, that is the engine, and this is the car that we want to get going. In the last episode on this MGB, I fitted a new interior. So now that's looking all smart, although a little bit dusty now because I've had this window open. Also fitted a frontline roll cage and everything else. So that now looks good. So it's ready to drive when we fixed it, essentially. This is the new radiator I have bought. Now, it is nowhere near as good quality as the frontline one I had. And I do intend to get another one of those at some point, but it should work. You can just tell, like, the welds aren't as good. That's not on straight. It's like, it's just not as good quality piece of kit, but it was only 180 quid. So there you go. Now I've done a test fit already on this, and these brackets, which are definitely not as good quality, catch with the frame and it's not quite in the right position. So I need to notch this here to allow it to sit over the frame of the car. That bit there, where I had a rubber bit on for the last radiator, just to kind of protect the frame a little bit. But now this needs to slide over that, essentially. So I need to cut a notch in the radiator to allow it to do that, because it won't drop down far enough at the moment. I'll do the same on this side. That is the plan. So let's go for it. So the radiator is now in my very messy workshop bit of the garage, and this is what I'm on about. So I need to cut a slot up here and get rid of some of this weld here on both sides. So that's not the bit that's gonna, you can see where I've kind of tried to fit it in and it's kind of dented it a little bit. So let's cut a slot in there, and then also what I want to do is elongate these bolt holes so that I've got a bit of movement in there ready to kind of fit the radiator. Right then, let's give this a little bit more clearance and hopefully not put a hole in the radiator. So I want to just kind of cut down there, do a few cuts until I've got the clearance I need. Now we can just get a file on it and just clean it up a bit. At least with aluminium, it's nice and soft to work with. Hence why I put a hole in the last radiator. Right, time to do the other side. Now obviously I'm not clamping this in too hard because that is hollow there. go. We kind of cut that out roughly. I know you can't see it probably from where you are. I'll show you in a minute. A bit harder on that side because, well, I should have turned the whole thing round really, shouldn't I? Right, okay. I think what I'm going to do now is get my Dremel and just elongate these holes a little bit, just to help us with getting it in the right position and stuff. So I'm going to sort that out and I'll put you on a time lapse while I do that one. Okay, so here's the radiator. Slightly longer hole, gap there, gap on that side. So hopefully we can fit this in now. The other differences for this radiator from my other one is this has got a right angle, which I don't know is going to work or not. We're going to have to figure that out. It might not do, to be honest, because my thermostat housing here is quite close. I might have to take some length out of that to make it work. Potentially, we'll see, or cut that off there. But then I've not got a bead roller, so yeah, we'll see. That, which would have been for the fan switch on an MGB, and then this is in a different location. That was up here. So this is just a normal radiator for a really late model rubber bumper MGB. The inlets and the outlets are in the right place, and it's the right thickness. It's a 5-row. So let's hope it works, eh? Let's try and install that. So let's slide it down and see if it now wants to fit a bit better. I should really be testing the old stator to see if it works before I do this, because I know that'll come back and bite me, because potentially it won't work even after the new wiring I've done, and I'll need to take this back off again. But we will see. That is now lower down than it was before. There we go. You can see what I mean about this. That is now not in the right place, is it really? So I'd have to take quite a lot off this, so it might be better to cut that there. We'll see. I'll worry about that in a minute. So that is now further in place. So I can hook up the bottom radiator hose. I'm not going to film that. It's too tricky to see, but I'll show you afterwards. And it takes a long time to get it in the right position, to be honest. Right, that radiator bottom hose is on. What a pain in the backside that was. Real issues getting that in. But that is now in, so that's the start. Now, as feared, this right angle is too big. So that just, if I try and get it to even match up with that, it kinks that to the point where water's not going to get through. So that's not an option. So I'm going to have to cut this, which I didn't want to do, but I'm going to have to. Now, it'll mean it doesn't have a kind of beveled edge on it. So for water pipe, it's not ideal, because obviously that stops the pipe just pulling off. So what I think I'm going to do is cut it, put that on there like that, and then I'll double Jubilee clip it on. So I'll leave enough so that I can push that right angle all the way in and double Jubilee clip. And hopefully that's going to be enough to save it. So what I'm going to do is get a saw or a sawzall or something down here and just cut that clean off there. The other thing I forgot to mention is it doesn't have a top filling thing anymore, this one. So I've had to just bodge that up so that I can fill it up with water. Well, with coolant or whatever I've got to hand, to be honest. And yeah. Right, I've kind of got that installed now. 2 Jubilee clips there, a very battered old one there, because I needed an extra one. That's all I had, so I'll replace that at some point. I've put the fans kind of roughly in place, but because these aren't threaded this time, like the actual tabs on the old radiator were bolted, so I could use them to kind of, so now I've not got enough hardware basically. So I need to go and do a parts run because I was trying to piece bits together, but it's just not proper, so I won't do that. So I need to go and get some long M8 bolts, lots of nuts, lock washers and things to be able to bolt that all in properly, because I can, rather than using the spacer this time, because that's not threaded, I can just clamp them together on either side and at the bottom as well. So we'll do that. Right. I went to go to B&Q and get some bolts and stuff, and I succeeded. So the radiator is now installed. Let me show you. I'm not sure I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to put that out there. It's in and it's not going anywhere. I can just tell the quality is definitely not as good as the last radiator, but it's in. So I've just put a bolt either side of here now, and a bolt either side of the fan there and there as well. And at the bottom, I couldn't get the other ones in, so we've just, you can see how it's bending the bracket. I've just put the bolts in there so that it won't swing towards the engine. It kind of keeps it in place. I've put a nylock on the bottom of the fan there, and then there's nothing on this side because I just can't get to it. It'll do for now. It will definitely be enough to get this car kind of going, which is the plan. It's a bit too late now to make any noise, so I'm going to call it a night, and tomorrow we will get this engine started again. And then I will ring Emerald and we can hopefully do another online session and actually finish tuning this engine enough to kind of drive it around. That's the plan anyway, so I'm hoping by the end of this week maybe I can take it for a little test drive. I'm still struggling with the DVLA. It seems like you just can't get in touch with them. They gave me an email address to contact and they just won't reply. So that's fantastic. So I'm still going through that. So it might be a case of if this is still registered as a 1.8 when I first take it on the road, which I know is a bit naughty, but it is what it is. If they won't reply to me, yeah, it's frustrating really. But I can get it insured. I can get it taxed, even though it's historic, and we can drive it down to the MOT place and see what happens. It won't pass an MOT because it's got no speedo and no rev counter at the moment, which is another thing I need to fix. But we're definitely going to be on the way, and it'd be nice for them just to give the whole car a little check over anyway and let me know anything else that I should be taking care of. So I'll see you bright and early in the morning. Good morning. I'm back in the garage. Now I've got a confession. I started the MG this morning and I forgot to film it. I was just quite excited to get it going really. And it started and it sounded great, and then I noticed the voltages. Still not charging, which is just, yeah. So I've been doing some research and I've been looking at all my wiring and stuff. Luckily I put longer wires on this time, if you remember, so that I can actually get to it without taking the alternator out. And I think I've figured out what my problem is. So this is my positive that goes into the connector for the alternator, which goes into the S on there, which is the sense signal or something. I then have wired the lamp one there. Now, those two on an MGB are the same wire, so they loop back on themselves. So I just checked the continuity with this, and they have no resistance. It is the same wire. Now that's my problem, which is a pain. It really is. Yeah, no idea what to do now. The only thing I can think of trying is, it says running a lamp is optional, so maybe I can disconnect this one and plug it back in and see if for whatever reason that's causing it to fault, because everything else is correct wiring wise, unless that alternator, which would be a right pain, is dead. So let's see if I can pull this one out and reconnect it and see if that then charges as I'm testing the engine. So I've pulled that lamp, what I thought was the lamp light, off. So I'm just going to see if, because it does say optional on my kind of little diagram thing, so I'm just going to see if that has made any difference. I'm not sure it will, but we'll see. I've also had to take all the back seats and everything out to get to the battery tray because obviously it had run out of battery. I'll test that out and see what happens. Right, I've got this here, so I'm looking for that battery voltage there to come up to show that it's charging. Let that pump go for a bit. Hey, that is charging. Ha! Come on, focus. I'm in shock. My brain isn't good enough to work out why that worked. Someone tell me why that worked. Obviously spilt something on that exhaust. On idle, the exhaust is so quiet. Now this is just warming up a bit now. I'm just letting the coolant kind of burp out, then I'll top it up. But it's sounding really nice. It's smoothing out. It's idling really well. I just want to make sure like the cooling fans and stuff come back to life and things like that, which they should do once the thermostat opens and stuff. So yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Hopefully I can get in with Dave this afternoon at Emerald and you can continue to map it. Oh, that was the fans coming on then. That alternator I don't think is the most powerful alternator in the world. So with those cooling fans on, it brings the voltage down to about 12.6, something like that, but it's brought the temperature down to 92. Does that mean the fans have cut back off again? Yeah, so you come on at 95 and cut off at 92, which is cool. And then the voltage comes back up. I've got a feeling that if I'm driving at night with the headlights on, with the wipers on, it might be a little bit low on the voltage, to be honest. We'll see. But yeah, it's controlling there, isn't it? It's quite nice. You can hear the fans turn on again then. Voltage dropped down to 12.5. But I'm not 100% happy with that alternator still. But at least it is charging now, which is a start, and it should get us on the road at least. I'll keep an eye on this, keep it running for a bit, blow all the cobwebs out of it, and then hopefully I can get it mapped this afternoon with Dave. Oh dear. Started dripping as it was running. So we've got an oil leak coming from the filter housing, or the old filter housing, or the hoses going into it, which is a right pain. It's leaking more now, which is fantastic. The more I tighten it up, the more it leaks. So that fitting has failed, and that's going to put a stop to everything, unfortunately. Once again, I just can't win with this MG at the moment. It's just once I fix one thing, something else breaks, and it just is an endless cycle of trying to fix things and not quite fixing them. So yeah, I'm a little bit, on my last straw with it all. Which is a shame because it's so close. I feel like I'm 99% done with it. It's just these little problems just keep on. Yeah, let me show you the issue if I can. It's very hard to see, but let me show you the issue if I can. I have ordered now some new fittings that should arrive in 2 to 3 days when I'm back in work. So it's another week, another trip further into winter before I can even start to think about getting it on the road. It's just such a pain, real pain. But never mind, it is what it is. I don't know if you can see that fitting there. This one here, that's where it's leaking from. And it's because the fitting itself isn't kind of clamping up properly, which is a pain, and as you can tell, it's a right pain to get to. But I'm going to have to drain all the oil out and yeah, refit a new fitting on that. What can you do but just keep going with it, I suppose. So yeah, I might as well say bye to you for now on this MG. I'll be back in this episode to fix it, but it just means this episode is not going out for a while. Good morning, I am back on the MG today, and my oil line parts have arrived. So they're a tighter angle and they look a little bit more substantial. than the ones that were on it that failed. So I'm going to fit those. It's going to be really hard for you to see, so I'm going to do it and then show you afterwards. And then we can fill it back up with oil, drop it on the ground, start it, see if the oil stays in the engine this time, and then potentially, even though it is raining at the moment, see if we can get this car at least down the drive and maybe further. We will see. It needs a tune. It's definitely not running 100%, but it does run up and it does rev. So it might be just enough to get it out on the road just for a little bit. But we'll see. So I'm going to fit those and then I'll get back to you once I have done that. It's going to be a pain because oil's going to go everywhere, but never mind. Right, you can see how much little room I've got. Not as much oil came out as I thought because obviously it's above the sump. So that's good. I managed to catch it in there, but just a little bit really. Now you can see what I'm going to have to do and how difficult it is without taking the engine out. So these kind of bits here were leaking. So the joint between the nut and the, was leaking, and I can't turn them. So I obviously damaged them, tightening them up too much or something. So now I've got to try and fit my new connectors, which should really be done in a vise whilst I'm under the car, which is going to be a bit of a pain. I'm putting off I'm putting off fitting these oil fittings because it's just such a pain of a job. It was bad enough getting those ones off. Getting the new ones on is going to be horrendous. But never mind. Look at that old beaut. That's the only one I can get to fit over that connection there. Right, that is now in. That was a pain in the arse. I ended up having to use one of the old bits that looked like the most good quality one, and one of the new bits, just because there's so little room between that kind of adapter plate and the chassis rail. So I couldn't get one of those new bits in. It was too tight to a right angle. Right pain. But it's in now and I've topped it back up with oil. I'm not confident that this isn't going to leak again. I'm going to be honest. But we can only give it a go. So let's start it. Let's let it tick over for a while. Let it get warm. And then we can see what kind of happens with that oil situation. I hope it doesn't leak. I hope that's it fixed. Otherwise I'll be chasing this forever. Right. So let's turn this on. And then it's a waiting game just to see if it leaks, essentially. I know it's got oil, I know it's got water, so I can let it heat up. So let that fuel pump prime a little bit. Okay, so that's a good start. Right, so it's idling. Got my microphone on here, so you kind of hear what the exhaust sounds like. It's quite understated. I might have to do something about that. But on the other hand, it's quite nice because it adds to that kind of sleepery vibe, doesn't it? If it doesn't sound like too loud. Sure, when I accelerate, those ITBs are going to come into life and sound really, really nice, which I can't wait for. Yeah, all I'm going to do now is keep an eye on the underneath of the car and make sure that we don't have any leaks. You can see it's just idling at about 1000 RPM. The idle is set up a little bit rich. Well, I'm just going to wait for this gauge to come into life. You can see I've got oil pressure, or good oil pressure. Got fuel, just neither of these work, rev counter or speedo, which I need to sort out. Yeah, and obviously I've had to take that back seat out to get to the battery. I think I'm going to do some relocation points. We are charging at 13.1, which is a little bit low, but at least it's better than it was before. So yeah, I'm just going to try not to poison myself with carbon monoxide and let this kind of tick over and heat up. That's the plan anyway. So I'll get back to you in a few minutes once that's happened. Let me just see if I can get you to hear this engine. It seems to be running a bit lean when you give it some accelerator, So that's what I need to get the Dave at Emerald to sort out when we tune it. Hopefully we can finally get it properly tuned. No oil yet leaking out of that joint, but we need to let the engine get a little bit warmer. The fans have come on as they should, so it's reached temperature and it's still not leaking any oil. So I think that issue might be sorted. Potentially, maybe. It's getting close now, it really is. I feel like it's been such a long journey to get to this point. I am exhausted by it, to be honest. The biggest project I've ever taken on, ever, and it's nearly there. Those fans are just turning on and off as they're needed, as it's idling, which is perfect. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm just a little bit kind of when you're expecting something to go wrong. Yeah. So. Good morning. So we are back in the garage with the MG, and we are going to try and get it tuned today by Dave from Emerald. The only problem with that is I'm not going to be able to get it on the road because we are suddenly in the midst of Storm Claudia. So it's pouring down and it's going to get up to 50-mile-an-hour winds, which is fantastic. But hopefully we can get the car running better. It won't be perfect because it needs to go on a dyno on a rolling road to get it properly tuned, but it hopefully will be enough to kind of take it out on the road. Just not today, unfortunately. I don't want its first drive to be in the pouring rain. So I need to set everything up. I've got about half an hour until the actual kind of tune session. So I'll try and film as much of it as possible. However, I need to talk to him on the phone I use for filming. So I've got my spare phone, but the audio might not be perfect. But we'll try and at least get you the gist of what he's doing. It's quite magic to see him kind of he does it so quickly though. Go through all the menus and change the timing and change how much injection we're getting and the map, and oh god, it's impressive. He set up the whole IVAC, idle air control valve, that I put on from the Triumph motorbike and all that type of stuff. So it is exciting, but yeah, bear with me on it. Just thought I'd show you, I've got my extraction fan on in case anyone's worried. Going out of the garage. So let me turn the because the actual rate heating is that it kind of gets halfway and then had a few readings of 20, then it does it off scale. Yeah, it's annoying because I wanted to sort of, when I revved it, leave. That's revving up a bit better now. Oh, I just turned off. For God's sake. That was a brand new fuel pump as well. I'll have a look at the wiring then. Okay, I will do. All right. Well, thanks for your help, Dave. I'll book in for a rolling road at some point once I've sorted out all these niggles. All right, thanks, mate. Bye. Right, I don't know how much of that you'll have seen from that video because it was very loud and I didn't have my microphone on and stuff. So, but basically, we had two big issues. First issue, the wideband sensor has decided not to work today of all days. It was working perfectly fine yesterday when I ran the car just to check everything. It's not today. Second issue, the fuel pump just cut out and the engine turned off and it blew the fuse. So now I need to figure out, one, why did it blow the fuse? And is it just because it needs a bigger fuse on there and actually it was just running right at the edge of its capability, or is it broken? So I need to do a bit of investigating. Yeah, not ideal. It's one thing after another, isn't it? Radiator, alternator, oil leak, now wideband sensor, brand new wideband sensor, brand new, now not working. Very strange, and it's definitely not working. It's reading 4.5 volts, which is right on the top of the scale. which would suggest the engine's running lean, but it's not running lean. So it's definitely not working for some reason. Very strange. So I'm going to delve into all of that and see if I can at least get the engine back started again. Yeah, frustrating. Very frustrating. So it was the fuse, not that I thought it would be, which is for the fuel on the fuel pump relay. It is the fuse on the battery connection to the fuel pump, and it also sends power to some other things as well. I can't remember. I'll have to look at my little diagram. So I've put a new fuse in it, and it now all works again. But I really need to figure out why. Why did it blow that fuse? Let me show you the location of it. So it was this fuse here. So I've put a new one in, but it properly went. Like, it properly went. You can see it's a little bit twisted in there now. That was the old fuse. It's all melty. It's done its job, but wow, that's a 30 amp fuse. So the car is running again. I'm kind of keeping my finger on that fuse just to see if it gets warm. See if it's the wire itself maybe that's not quite strong enough. Big thick wire though. Very strange, very strange. Pump doesn't sound like it's broken. Definitely some more investigating needed to see why that went. I'm feeling it as I'm talking to you, and it's the fuse isn't hot, which is what you'd expect of it to obviously start to melt like that. That cable is meant for like a high-powered amp for a speaker system, so it should be okay. Now it's getting warm. That fuse is getting warm, so I'm going to turn the car off, figure out what's causing that. So I'm just remembering my wiring. So that fuse that I just showed you powers all of the relays. So not only did I lose the fuel pump then, well, that was because that was the most obvious thing. I would have lost everything connected to that fuse board in the engine bay. Now, when I did all the calculations, 30 amps was enough for all that. But I have got 2 cooling fans, cooling water pump, electric cooling water pump, the fuel pump, wideband sensor, all the injectors. So yeah, I need to do a bit more research and find out, look back for my diagrams and all that type of stuff. So I am going to end the episode there. It's unfortunate that we didn't get it running and driving like I wanted to. You win some, you lose some though, hey? It's one of those things I've overcome so many kind of hurdles to get this car to where it is now, that just 1 or 2 more, it's just part of the journey, isn't it? It's unfortunate. And I did want to, for you lot, get it out on the road and have this as the final episode, to be honest. I've actually, whilst I'm editing it, I've put final episode on the on the tag for my edits. But anyway, it is what it is. There will be another episode on this where it gets run perfectly and we get the rolling road and all that type of stuff. But we fixed the cooling system. We fixed the alternator. We did get it running better. That tuning session, he did start to put a bit more fuel in it, did start to sound a bit healthier. I've just got to figure out why it's blown that fuse, which is what I'm going to do in the meantime. And in the next episode, you'll find out why, hopefully. And we will definitely get it running, driving and on the road. If you want to buy any merchandise, please do. It's in my shop. These hats with HDR Garage on the side and the logo on the front. I've also got a HDR Garage t-shirt on at the moment. Really good quality t-shirts actually. I'm really happy with them. So yeah, if you want to support the channel, you can do that. I also want to thank Ian for a big donation that he did on my Buy Me a Coffee page, which allowed me to buy this radiator, to be honest. So thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, comment and like the video. And I will be back, hopefully, with this car on the road in the next episode. So I'll see you then.